Welcome back. Happy New Year. If you're thinking about starting a nonprofit or growing an existing nonprofit in 2023, there are some trends you're going to want to be aware of. Let's talk about 7 of them in this video. If we haven't met before, hi, I'm Amber Melanie Smith, and I'm a nonprofit founder and executive director who also makes these videos on YouTube to help people aspiring to make an impact in the world, whether that is through starting a nonprofit of their own, launching a socially responsible business, volunteering, being a leader in their community, or other ways. As always, I hope that you find this video helpful and interesting. Don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Also, if you are in the process of starting a nonprofit and you need some guidance, I have a great online course at my website, foundertofulltime.com, that you can check out. So each year for the past couple of years, I've done these videos talking about the trends that I'm seeing emerge across the nonprofit sector that are going to impact people who are either starting a nonprofit or building up an existing organization. And it's just fascinating to see which trends are continuing over the years and which new ones are emerging. And of course, we're in a very rapidly evolving landscape and world, as we all know. And so the 7 trends that I'm going to talk about, I think some are expected and some are surprising, but they're all very interesting. And I think if you're a clever nonprofit leader or founder, you will find some opportunities to capitalize on some of these trends that can help your cause, or understand them so that you can mitigate any damage that these trends could do to your cause. So let's get into them. Trend number 1 is that nonprofits might expect fewer grants in 2023. This is a trend that was recently discussed in Forbes magazine, and the reason that they have this theory that this is going to be an occurrence in 2023 is a reasonable theory, and that is that foundation giving is often tied to the performance of the financial markets. And since those markets didn't perform as well as some hoped in 2022, the thought is that in 2023, foundations might have less money to give out, that they might just give out the bare minimum that they're legally required to, and we might see some reduction in opportunities in grants there. So what can you do about this? It is recommended, and honestly, I recommend this all the time, not just in a year when grants are predicted to be lower, but diversifying your revenue streams as a nonprofit is always a good idea, especially investigating, developing, and investing more in fees for service and earned income strategies. I've talked about earned income strategies in some of my other videos, so you might want to check out my video, 15 earned income strategies, if you need some inspiration or a starting point to be thinking about this. But the basic idea is that you can, through the sale of goods and services that align with and further your mission, also generate revenue for your cause. The second trend that we're going to see in 2023 is an increased interest in and investment in time spent networking with other people. Now, networking with other people might not get funds into your nonprofit's pocket right away, but it is proven that the larger your social network is as a nonprofit, the more donors you will have. That's simply because of the math. More people know about your cause means more people within that pool love your cause, and more people within that smaller pool are willing and able to donate to your cause. So making sure that you are increasing your network in the community is going to be a big thing in 2023, especially as more people are hosting in-person events. Trend number 3 that I want to talk about is a continuing trend, and I think this is a positive thing, and that is a continued focus on employee retention and well-being in nonprofits. So nonprofits who have paid staff have developed and implemented more strategies to help retain their employees and uplift the well-being of their employees over the past year, especially as the Great Resignation and the labor and job markets have made it harder to hire good candidates in the nonprofit sector. And we know that losing staff in any business or organization, but especially nonprofits, can be really damaging to the continued operations of the organization and costly. A recent Gallup report noted that losing an employee can cost an organization anywhere from half to 2 times that employee's salary. So it is far more expensive to lose an employee and have to hire a new one than to simply take care of the ones that you have and aim to keep them around. And we know that employee retention is on a lot of nonprofits' leaders' minds. In the Salesforce Nonprofit Trends 5th edition that just came out, 28% of nonprofit leaders reported that employee retention was a major challenge for them. 34% of nonprofit leaders in this same report said that employee burnout and mental health issues were also a major challenge for them. And so 46% of these nonprofit leaders said that employee retention was going to become a top priority for them in 2023. If you are a nonprofit who has paid staff and you're wondering what you can do to increase the odds of keeping them around, here are some ideas, and there's so many different things. And also this could apply to if you're an organization that is in the process of developing systems and structures to eventually have paid staff. It's important to think ahead about the items that I'm going to share with you in just a moment here, so that you can have these just as part of the way you do things and build in a likelihood of employee retention from the very beginning. The first thing you can do, I think, is pretty obvious, and that is to ensure fair compensation. If you're not sure what fair compensation looks like, there are various online resources where you can research salaries for similar positions in your specific local geography, because we know, of course, that salary ranges might change city to city based on the cost of living. You can check out some of these guides. There's even guides that are nonprofit specific. You can look up other nonprofit salaries. I recommend the GuideStar compensation report for that. But one thing to keep in mind that's really important is that, especially in this labor market, nonprofits aren't just competing against other nonprofits for quality employees. They're competing against for-profit and private sector also, because people won't necessarily only work for a nonprofit because of its amazing mission, though there are some of those people out there. But they also have to be able to eat and feed their families, which is a totally reasonable expectation. Another thing you can make sure you build into your team infrastructure is flexible work environments. I know that this isn't always possible depending on your specific mission as an organization, but finding ways to allow this flexibility would be really important for people, especially people who have kids and need to make sure that they can make sure that their childcare is accounted for. But hybrid work environments and flexible scheduling are highly desired things that potential employees are looking for. So if you can build that in, something to consider. Another thing is just other benefits like supplementing or covering the cost of health insurance, dental insurance, making retirement contributions, etc. And finally, a good, strong paid time off policy that allows people to rest and get their mental health needs taken care of and spend time with their family and friends and all of these things. The fourth trend I'm going to talk about is new and really fascinating to me, and this is a trend that is touching both the fundraising and technology spaces, but the trend is platforms that allow donors to make a donation now, but pay for that donation later. It's like putting your donation on layaway, I guess. A couple sites that are doing this are Givesy and BeGenerous.com. I'll be sure to include links to this stuff in the description below if you're curious. They are not sponsoring this video. I don't even know that they know that I exist or these videos exist, but I did find these online and I think they're really interesting. I've not seen this before. It's the idea is that donors can make a donation through these platforms, but then break their donation into payments that they make later during designated months. But the thing is, and here's what really got me, the nonprofits get the donation in full now. So it's not like a pledge where a donor says, yeah, I'll donate once a month or once a quarter, and I promise I will, but you don't see the money until that time comes. No, the nonprofits get all of the money now, and then the donors pay it over time. So I think this is something to keep an eye on. It's really interesting. I will be very curious to see if this means that people will make larger donations, and if there's any issues with like completing the donor payments later. So just something I'm planning to keep an eye on because I find it really interesting. Trend number 5 is donor retention. And this is an ongoing trend, but I think we're going to see even more attention paid to it in the next year because some people are concerned about a recession, and that means that it will be more cost effective to try your best to retain the donors that you already have versus spend more time and money acquiring new donors. You should always be doing both of those things, by the way, retaining your old donors and trying to find new donors. But with an increased focus on donor retention, what this will mean is donor stewardship, or if you're not familiar with that term, the act of maintaining a positive relationship with your donor over time, will become a greater focus. So, thinking through strategies that are going to allow you to have strong donor stewardship are going to be key. Things like making sure you're sending those thank you notes on time, that you are keeping your donors up to date about your latest impacts and things going on in your organization, thinking of ways to help them build a community with you and each other through events or gatherings or discussions. All of these things are going to take center stage. And we know, just like in sales, it's more cost effective to keep a current customer than to acquire a new one. The same is true of donors. It costs more to acquire new donors than to keep your existing ones. So just be thinking about, what is your donor stewardship strategy right now? Where are the gaps? Where could it be stronger? And start planning out some opportunities to engage your donors in 2023. Trend number 6 is also a technology trend, and it is an increased focus on cybersecurity. So there have been some high-profile cybersecurity problems in the news throughout 2022 across all sectors. And so nonprofits are going to put a lot more focus on this. Once again, according to that Salesforce Nonprofit Trends report, nonprofits are especially likely to be the target of cybersecurity attacks because think about it. We've got donor databases listing people who give us money, with their private contact information, all of that, volunteer databases, information on our vulnerable populations. So we are definitely likely to be victims of cybersecurity attacks. If you're interested in learning more about the basics of nonprofit cybersecurity, I will leave a link to a resource I found from the Council of Nonprofits in the description below this video, so you can check that out. The 7th trend relates to social media, and that is an increased use of LinkedIn for nonprofits. Now, I am not 100% sure how credible this trend is, but I did find it noted on multiple different sources, and so that made me pay attention. And I do kind of see some merit here. LinkedIn tends to be most used by adult business professionals. So it could be a great place for your nonprofit to find skilled volunteers, potential board members, potential business sponsors, potential, donors or business partners. I can see it having a great audience that might be interested in supporting nonprofits and offering their skills and resources from the business side. Another thing about LinkedIn that I've noticed is it's a great place to establish thought leadership, which is basically the idea that you are considered an expert in your field. You're a thought leader, and being a thought leader can help you get credibility and respect, and that can, in theory, lead to more financial support for your organization as well. So being a thought leader is a good thing. As a nonprofit leader, you really want to be known as an expert in the particular issue that your nonprofit is tackling, whether that is homelessness or food insecurity or education or what have you. So you can, as a nonprofit have a nonprofit page or a group, or even have your leadership share news about the organization, or all three of these things. But sharing news and information and research about your particular issue area and about what your organization is doing can really help establish that credibility and thought leadership too. All right, those are the 7 trends. I'd love to hear, what did you think? Are you seeing or feeling or observing some of these trends starting to impact your nonprofit efforts right now? Or are you hearing or seeing other trends that are impacting you that I didn't list? Share in the comments below. As I mentioned before, if you are starting a nonprofit and developing fundraising strategy and whatnot, I do have an online course, actually 2 online courses at my website, Founder to Full-Time, one focused on starting a nonprofit and that process, and then the other focused on developing a sustainable fundraising plan, which is very important, on my website. Once again, that's foundertofulltime.com. Check those out there. I also have a newsletter for nonprofit leaders and changemakers of all kinds that you can subscribe to and opt out anytime. And I'll leave that link in my description below too. Final thing, I have a Facebook group called Change the World or Bust. We have, I think last time I counted, about 4,000 people from around the world in there, all talking about what they're working on and getting some great helpful advice from each other. And it's just a great group, so come on by and join us. That's all I have for you today. Once again, my name is Amber Melanie Smith. Happy 2023, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.